Good morning students. We are back to chapter 1, that is solid state. Let me sum up what we have seen till date. Under solid state we have seen what is the characteristics of solid. What are the types of solids, that is crystalline solid and amorphous solid. Then we saw what is the difference between crystalline and amorphous solids. Then under the crystalline solids we saw sub-classification as molecular solids, metallic solids, ionic solids, or covalent or network solids. Then we saw what is crystal lattice, what is a unit cell. Then we saw what is the types of unit cell like face centered, body centered, end centered unit cell we saw. Then we saw packing, like packing in 1 dimension, packing in 2 dimension, then packing in 3 dimension. Then we saw tetragonal voids, then we saw octahedral voids. The last topic will be, under unit cell we have to see what is the packing efficiency. So in today's session we'll be dealing with packing efficiency as well as defects. Defects of two types, stoichiometric and non-stoichiometric. With this the chapter will be done. So let me move on to packing efficiency. What is the definition for packing efficiency in a simple cubic unit cell? The definition is volume occupied by all the spheres in a unit cell divided by total volume of the unit cell into 100. So see, suppose if I have 4 spheres, then the numerator will be volume occupied by 4 spheres in a unit cell divided by total volume of the unit cell into 100. So this is the definition for packing efficiency. So we are seeing packing efficiency in a simple cubic unit cell. Okay. Now what is A, children? A is the edge length of the unit cell. What is A? A is the edge length of the unit cell. What is R? R is the radius of the sphere. Okay. Since all the spheres are touching each other, see two spheres, one sphere is always in contact with the neighboring sphere. So what is A? A is equal to 2R. So radius of two spheres. So what is A? A is equal to 2R. Okay. Now what is A? What did I tell you for A? A is nothing but the edge length of the sphere. Edge length of the unit cell. What is A? A is the edge length of the unit cell. R is the radius of the sphere. Since two spheres are in contact with each other, what is A? A is equal to 2R. Okay. Now how many number of spheres are there in a unit cell? This already we have seen, 1 by 8 into 8, 8 and 8 cross each other, so 1. Now what is the volume of the sphere which you have seen in the lower section? It is 4 by 3 pi r cube. What is the volume of the sphere? Volume of sphere is nothing but 4 by 3 pi r cube. Now what is the volume of the cube? It is A cube. So what is A value? 2R. If I substitute 2R in A cube, I will be getting 8R cube. Okay. Now see, I am asking you what is one fraction of space occupied. Since the volume of sphere is 4 by 3 pi r cube, in that one fraction will be 1 by 3 pi r cube divided by 8 r cube, which is nothing but 0.524. So the percentage occupied by a cubic unit cell will be 0.524. Okay, so in this page, which one you have to remember? What is A? A is nothing but edge of the cubic cell. And what is R? Radius of the sphere. Since two are touching each other, what is A? A is equal to 2R. What is the volume of a sphere? It is 4 by 3 pi r cube. And what is your volume of cube? It is A cube. Then from that you need to calculate for one fraction of that, which is found to be 0.524. Yeah. Next, this is the packing efficiency in body-centered cubic structure. What is this slide about? This slide is about packing efficiency of a body-centered cubic structures. In the previous slide, we saw for simple cubic structure, and this is for body-centered cubic structure. As I have already discussed with you, in a body-centered cubic unit cell, we have triangle AFD. And AD is equal to A. What is AD? This is AD. AD, AC, DC together will be forming your triangle. Now DF, see all these factors you no need to memorize. Just look into the figure and try to make out the body centered cubic structure, like AD is equal to small a. What is this AD? AD is equal to small a. What is DF? DF is equal to B. Can you see the dotted lines, children? DF is equal to B, small b. DF is equal to small b. And we know already that AD is equal to EF. What is this? We know already that is ED is equal to EF, which is nothing but your edge length. Edge length is nothing but your small a. So now small b square is equal to a square plus a square, which is nothing but 2a square. So similarly, FD is equal to B. Yes, no children? What is this FD? FD is equal to B. And what is AD? AD is equal to A, small a. AD is equal to small a. And your FD is equal to small b. So C square is equal to A square plus B square, where B square is nothing but 2A square. So A square plus 2A square will be 2A square. So volume of unit cell is AQ, which is nothing but 4R divided by root 3Q, which is nothing but 64 root cube divided by 3 root of 3. So number of spheres which is present in body centered cubic structure will be 2. So volume of spheres is nothing but 2 into 4 by 3 pi r cube. See children, in this slide kindly try to remember what is AD is equal to, what is DE, what is DF is equal to. You need to know the fact that C square will be A plus B square, where A square plus, what is B square value? B square value is nothing but 2A square. So your A plus B square is equal to 2A square. How many spheres are present in body centered cubic structures? There are 2 spheres present in it. So if the volume of sphere is, if the number of spheres is 2, what is the volume of 2 spheres? It is nothing but 2 into 4 by 3 pi r cube. Okay. So this is the packing efficiency in body centered cubic structure. This will be giving you an overall idea for packing efficiency in body centered cubic cell. What did I tell you? The main definition, it is nothing but volume occupied by the number of spheres in a cubic cell divided by total volume of the cell into 100. Now how many number of spheres are present in body centered cubic cell? It is 2. So 2 into 4 by 3 pi r cube divided by what is the total volume of the unit cell? It is 4 root 3 r cubic cube into 100 by into 100. Okay. So if I multiply 2 into 4, 2 4s are 8, 8 by 3 pi r cube into 100. What is 4 cube? It is 64, 3 root 3 into r cube, which is nothing but 68%. So what is the volume, what is the packing efficiency or for a body centered cubic cell? It will be 68%. It is 68%. Next, this is packing in cubic closed packing and hexagonal closed packing. As I already discussed with you, what is R? R is nothing but radius of the sphere. What is A, children? A is nothing but edge length of the cube. What is A? A is the edge length, R is the radius of the sphere. Now how many spheres will be present in a face centered cell? There are 4 spheres present in it. So volume of 4 spheres is equal to 4 into 4 by 3 pi r cube. Okay. Now when you look into face centered cubic cell, the corner spheres are in touch with the face centered sphere. Since the face centered diagonal AD is equal to 4 times the radius of the sphere. This is a triangle where ADAC is equal to DC. Okay. ADAC DC. Okay. Since the face diagonal AD is equal to 4 times the radius of the sphere, I am going to write the term AC as 4R. Since AC is equal to 4 times the radius of the sphere, what is the value of AC? AC is equal to 4R. Now, since it is a right angled triangle ACD, AC is equal to AD square plus DC square. What is AC, children? Can you make out the triangle here? What is AC square is equal to? It is AD, root of AD square plus DC square. So what is AD square? Root A. What is DC? It is A square. So it is root 2A. I told you there are 4 spheres which are in touch. So it is 4R. 4R is equal to root of 2A. If I want A, then I can write as A is equal to 4 by root 2 into R. So volume of cube is equal to 2 by root 2 R cube. Okay. So this is the clear-cut picture of packing efficiency in face-centered cubic cell. So packing efficiency definition, it is nothing but volume occupied by all the spheres divided by total volume into 100. Now how many spheres are there in face-centered cubic cell? It is 4. So 4 into 4 by 3 pi r cube divided by total volume of the unit cell, which we have discussed in the previous slide. It is 2 by root 2 and 2 into root 2 square cube in percentage into 100 percentage. So 4 into 4 children, it is 16 by 3 pi r cube into 100 divided by 2 cube is 16. So 2 r cube. So the volume occupied or the packing efficiency of face-centered cubic cell will be 74%. Okay. So what is the volume occupied by your what is this volume, children? This is the volume occupied by body-centered cubic structure will be 68%. And what is the volume occupied by simple cubic unit cell? It is 0.524%. This is body-centered cubic structures. Packing efficiency is 68% and packing efficiency of face-centered cubic cell will be 74%. It is 74%. So we have seen 3 packing efficiency. For all the 3 definition is same. The only difference will be volume of sphere and the number of spheres. Okay. Now this is the definition. This will be the definition for density of a unit cell. We already knew density is equal to mass by volume. Volume of unit cell, till now we have seen in the 3 slides about the volume of unit cell for face-centered, for cubic-centered and for body-centered. Now what is the mass of the unit cell? Children, mass of the unit cell is equal to number of atoms in the unit cell into mass of each atom. Here they have defined as atom, so it can be molecule or it can be an ion. So what is the mass of unit cell? Mass of unit cell is equal to number of atoms or ions or molecules present in the unit cell into mass of each atom. So number of atoms is designated by the term Z, capital Z, and mass of each individual atom is represented by the term small m. So this is nothing but your mass and volume of unit cell. So mass divided by volume gives you the density of the unit cell. Okay, now moving to the last topic of the chapter, that is defects in the solids. Defects are classified into impurity defect, stoichiometric defect, non-stoichiometric defect. Okay, what is the main classification of defect? Impurity defect, stoichiometric defect and non-stoichiometric defect. Stoichiometric defect is further subdivided into 4. They are Schottky defect, Frankel defect, vacancy defect, interstitial defect. And non-stoichiometric defects are further classified into metal excess defect and metal deficiency defect. Now we will be seeing this one by one. So the first one will be point defect or line defect. This will be coming under the category imperfections in solid. All solids are not pure, all solids are not completely perfect. So I am going to call that a defect as imperfections in the solids. This imperfections is of 2 types. It may be a point defect or it may be a line defect. Now what are point defects? See, point defects are nothing but irregularities or deviations from the ideal arrangement around a point or around an atom in a crystalline substance. See, whenever there is an irregularity in the arrangement or whenever there is a deviation from the regular arrangement around a particular point or around a particular atom, then that defect is called as point defect. This happens in crystalline solids. Now what are line defect? They are irregularities or deviations from ideal arrangement in entire row of the lattice point are called as crystal defect. So when it is around a particular atom, it is point defect. When it is around the entire row of the crystal, then it is called as line defect. So what are point and a line defect? It is nothing but irregularities or deviations from the ideal arrangement around a particular atom, then it is point defect. Around the entire row of a crystal lattice, then we are going to call them as line defects. These are imperfections in the solids. Now, what are the types of point defect? Your point defects are classified into stoichiometric and non-stoichiometric. Under stoichiometric, we are going to see the two subdivision, vacancy defect and interstitial defect. Before that, what is stoichiometric defect? What is stoichiometric defect? See, stoichiometric, since stoichiometric defect is coming under point defects, these are point defects, but they don't affect the stoichiometry of a particular solid. So they are otherwise called as intrinsics or thermodynamic defect. So your stoichiometric defect will not affect the stoichiometry of the solids. So I am going to call them as intrinsic defect or thermodynamic defect. Now, since your stoichiometric divide is classified into two, that is your vacancy defect and your interstitial defect. What is vacancy defect? When see, vacancy, name itself is giving me there should be some vacant side. So when some of the crystal lattice, when some of the lattice sites are vacant, then the crystal is called, then the crystal is having a vacancy defect. Or not all the points in the crystal lattice is completely filled, but instead there are some vacant point in the crystal lattice, then this defect is called as vacancy defect. See, whenever instead of full packing, whenever there is a gap, then obviously the density of the solid decreases. This defect can also develop when you heat a particular substance. So this is about vacancy defect. So vacancy defect is coming under stoichiometric defect. What is stoichiometric defect? There is no change in the stoichiometry of the solid. So whenever some of the sites are vacant in a crystal lattice, then that is called as vacancy defect, which decreases the density of a substance, which happens when a particular substance is heated. Okay. Now what is interstitial defect? Here you have to tell when some of the constituent particles, that is atoms or molecules, when they occupy an interstitial site, then crystal is said to have an interstitial defect. This increases the density of a substance. Literally, I can tell this is nothing but an opposite of vacancy effect. Here, some of the atoms or molecules are going to occupy the interstitial site. So, when additional atoms or molecules are going to occupy the interstitial site, the density of a substance increases. Now, these two, which solid will be showing your vacancy defect and interstitial defect? This is shown by non-ionic solids. Ionic solids should maintain electrical neutrality. Okay, so dash solids exhibit vacancy defect and interstitial defect. It's about non-ionic solids. What happens to ionic solids? Their rule is they have to maintain electrical neutrality. They have to maintain equal positive ion and negative ion. That is, the number of cations should be equal to number of anions. See, rather than simple vacancy or interstitial defect, your ionic solids will be showing these effects as Frankel and Schottky defects. So see here, ionic solids want to bear a special name. For non-ionic solids, we literally told vacancy, interstitial. Vacancy, less number, interstitial, increase in number. When it comes in case of ionic solids, we are going to mention a special name for defect in ionic solids as Schottky and Frankel effect. We will be seeing that. See, this is the vacancy effect. The total number of ions, see, this is a crystal lattice where you have positive ion and negative ion. There is a defect here. So the density decreases when this also happens when a particular substance is heated. This is interstitial defect. Your some of the atoms or molecules are occupying the interstitial site. As a result, density increases. Now, who will be exhibiting your Frankel effect and the Schottky effect? Frankel effect and Schottky effect will be exhibited by ionic solids. Okay. Now, what is Frankel effect? This defect is shown by ionic solids. Here, the smaller ion is dislocated from its normal site to the interstitial site. So, a small ion, especially a cation, will be moving from its normal site to the interstitial site. So, a vacancy is created. So this creates a vacancy in the original site. Then what happens to the interstitial site? There is an atom, correct? An atom, a small atom, especially a cation, has moved from its original site to an interstitial site. As a result, in its original site, a vacancy is created and a new site is created in the interstitial site. So this effect is otherwise called as dislocation effect, because there is an atom is dislocated from its side to another side. So this is otherwise called as dislocation side. As we have already seen, this will not affect because your ionic solids have to maintain the electrical neutrality. So this does not change the density of a solid. Also, it is only a dislocation, not the complete removal. So it does not change the density of a solid. Frankel defect is shown by ionic substance in which there is a large difference in the size of the ions, especially when there is more size difference in cation and anion. Those ionic solids will exhibit Frankel effect. What are the example? Zinc sulfide, silver chloride, silver bromide and silver iodide. Why there is a large difference between cation and anion? Here the size of your zinc and silver ions are very small when you compare with the halogens like sulfide, chloride and bromide. Your zinc and silver's size is very small. Since the size difference is very more, that's the reason why these kind of ionic solids exhibit Frankel effect defect. So this is an example for Frankel effect, where there is a dislocation of a particular atom from the normal site to the interstitial site. Okay, these are normal site and the gaps between them, these are interstitial site. See, one atom has moved from its normal site to normal site to an interstitial site. So this does not increase the density of a substance because the size difference is very small, because we are dislocating, there is a dislocation of a small cation. Okay, now Schottky defect. See, this is also this is basically a vacancy defect in ionic solid. In order to maintain the neutrality, the number of missing cation and anion should be equal. This already we have discussed. Since their intention is to maintain the electrical neutrality, we are going to give them a special name. Instead of vacancy defect and interstitial defect, we are going to call them as Frankel effect and Schottky defect. See, like a simple vacancy defect, your Schottky defect also increases the density of a substance. The number of such defects in ionic solid is quite significant. For example, sodium chloride, there are approximately 106 Schottky pairs per centimeter cube at room temperature. Means in 1 centimeter cube there are 1022 ions. If there is one Schottky defect per 1016 ions, then who shows this? Especially the solids where your cation size and anion size are almost similar. See, Frankel effect is exhibited by those ionic solids where there is much difference in cation and anion, especially zinc and silver we saw. Your Schottky defect decreases the density of a substance. But you know what happens? That decrease in density is not that significant, and the Schottky effect is exhibited by solids where your cation and anion almost bear same size. Say for example, sodium chloride, potassium chloride, cesium chloride and silver bromide. The size of the cation and anion will be almost similar. So the density difference or decrease in density is not that significant. Here our silver bromide has a special characteristics. It is able to show both Frankel effect and Schottky defect. Yeah, this is your Schottky defect where there is a where there is a missing cation, but you know it has not moved. It's like Frankel effect, there is no dislocation of this atom to interstitial sites. They are vacant only. So whenever they are vacant, obviously there should be a decrease in density, but that decrease in density is not quite significant because the size of the cation and size of the anion are almost similar. So to the number of cations removed, the number of cations and anions removed should be equal in number. See here 1 plus is removed, and when you see here minus is removed. So since the size is same, the density difference is not much significant. Next, moving to impurity defect. When you take a melted sodium chloride, that is especially a molten sodium chloride, which is containing a small amount of strontium chloride, when I am going to crystallize, then what happens? Some of the sodium ion's site is occupied by strontium ion. How it happens? See, each strontium is going to replace 2 sodium, such that one strontium will go and occupy one of the sodium site and other sodium site is left vacant. Okay, I am repeating this. I have a molten sodium chloride which contains small amount of strontium chloride. I am crystallizing it. So what happens, for each sodium one strontium is replaced. How that replacement happen? One strontium will go and occupy the correct site of sodium while the other site remains vacant. See, it occupies site of one ion and the other site remains vacant. So that's the cationic vacancies which are produced is equal to that of SR2 plus ion. How many vacancy created due to this cation? That should be equal to the number of sites which is occupied by strontium ions. One more example will be cadmium chloride and silver chloride. See, this is your interstitial impurity and that is in vacancy. From a normal site, one atom is removed. So this is a proper vacancy. And what is interstitial impurity? In the interstitial site, one particular atom is added. So that is taken as interstitial impurity. So till now we have seen about stoichiometric defects. We have completed with stoichiometric defects. Now moving to non-stoichiometric defect. So I have told you non-stoichiometric defects are classified into metal excess and metal deficit, that is metal deficiency defect. From the name only you are getting a clue, hope, because metal excess effect, something is excess. Metal deficient effect, something is deficient. So what is metal excess effect? See, metal excess effect is due to anionic deficiency. Means what? This is due to negative charge. So this is due to anionic deficiency. Especially your sodium chloride and potassium chloride show this type of defect. When you heat some of the crystal of NaCl in an atmosphere of sodium vapor, then sodium atom will be deposited in the surface of the crystal. So what is the criteria here? I have to heat sodium chloride in the presence of sodium vapor. So what happens? Your sodium atom will be deposited in the surface of the sodium chloride crystal. See, your chloride ions will be diffusing to the surface of the crystal. It is going to combine with sodium to give sodium chloride. Sodium is deposited on the surface. Chloride is diffusing into the surface, so it is combining with sodium to give you sodium chloride. Now this happens by the loss of electron by sodium atom to form sodium ion. Now sodium atom became sodium plus. Na is converted to Na plus. The released electron diffuse into the crystal and occupy the anionic side. I told you Na has become Na plus plus E minus. So this E minus has diffused into the crystal and it started occupying your anionic side. As a result, now my crystal is having excess of sodium. This anionic sites which are occupied by unpaired electrons are called as F centers. So I have told you sodium converted to sodium atom is converted to Na plus ion plus electron. This electron, unpaired electron, is diffusing into it and it produces, this unpaired electron is going to occupy the anionic site occupied by unpaired electron is called as F center. What is the role of this F center? This will be imparting yellow color to the crystal of sodium chloride. Now, so how this color is produced? This color is produced by the electron excitation. When an electron is excited, when it absorbs energy from the visible light falling on the crystal. Similarly, the same condition you imagine for lithium chloride crystal heated in the presence of lithium vapors. Then what happens? Lithium will be deposited on the crystal while chloride will be diffusing into it and pairs with lithium to form lithium chloride. Here lithium atom is converted to lithium plus ion and the electron will be diffusing into it. This unpaired electron absorbs the light falling on it, get excited and produce color. So what is the color produced by lithium? It makes the crystals pink color, and your potassium makes potassium chloride crystals violet color or lilac color. So this is about your non-stoichiometric defect. I mean metal deficiency defect, yeah. Next, the last topic for non-stoichiometric defect. Under non-stoichiometric defect, we have done with metal deficiency defect. The last topic is metal excess effect due to the presence of extra cations at the interstitial site. Now, so consider the reaction zinc oxide. zinc oxide is converted to zinc ion plus half oxygen plus electrons are released. So what is the color of zinc oxide at room temperature? It is white in color. When I heat zinc oxide, it loses oxygen and turns into yellow color. Hope you all know the reason for this. What happens, what the oxygen will do? You remember the term, what happens to the crystal of sodium chloride in the presence of excess sodium, lithium chloride and potassium chloride. See here, when there is an excess of zinc in the crystal, when the formula becomes Zn 1 plus X, there is excess of zinc here, so it is represented as 1 plus X. Now this excess zinc ions move to the interstitial sites and the electrons to the neighboring interstitial sites. Zinc moves to interstitial sites and electrons will be moving to neighboring interstitial site. So what happens, this is the reason why when it is heated, zinc oxide turns into yellow color. Normal temperature it is white in color, it turns into yellow color. Why? Because of the presence of excess of zinc ion which has moved to interstitial site, and the electron which is released, that has moved to neighboring interstitial site. See, there are many solids which we cannot prepare them in exact stoichiometric proportion. See, it is difficult to prepare stoichiometric composition and contain less amount of metal as compared to the stoichiometric proportion. When we tend to prepare such metals, the proportion will be less than actually they should be present in the stoichiometric composition. We will be seeing the typical example as iron oxide, FeO. What is the composition of iron oxide is FeO into 95 nascent oxygen. Here the range of ion, that is Fe, should be from 0.930 to 0.960. But when you look into the crystal of iron oxide FeO, some of Fe2 plus cations are missing. So in order to maintain the neutrality, we need to maintain neutrality and see the amount of positive ions, the loss of positive charge can be made up. I want to cook up the loss of positive charge by required number of Fe3 plus ions. Okay. So what is the main idea under this slide is, it is difficult to prepare a particular metal in a stoichiometric proportion. If we tend to prepare, the proportion is less than actually that should be present in a stoichiometric composition. Here they have taken the example as zinc oxide. The actual proportion should be 0.930 to 0.960. So what happens when you prepare, but the composition is found to be, if some of the Fe2 plus ions, especially the cations, Fe2 plus means it's cation only, so it is missing. And how it is replaced? It is replaced by added up of not Fe2 plus exact ion, but we have added with Fe3 plus ions. Okay, we have added with Fe3 plus ion. This is F center. You remember, children, what is F center? See, the electron has occupied. This is a defect for potassium chloride crystal. Let me come up with F center one more time. See, F center is nothing but the crystal having excess of sodium or lithium or potassium. The anionic site is occupied by unpaired electron and they are called as F centers. So these F centers are responsible for imparting color. Since it is potassium chloride, what color should be exhibited? It should be pink color. Okay children. So in today's session we have seen about packing efficiency in face centered, body centered and simple close packing. Then we moved to defects. We saw stoichiometric defects, and that will be exhibited by non-ionic solids. And under ionic solids we saw about Frankel effect, Schottky defect. And the non-stoichiometric defects we saw metal excess defect and metal deficit defect. We saw about F centers, how they are responsible for imparting color to the crystals. Thank you, children.